The deputy's hand hovered over his holster. His eyes locked on my wife like she was some kind of criminal. "Ma'am, put the screwdriver down," he barked. And there was Lorraine, the so-called HOA president, screaming into her phone that Laura was trespassing, that she was destroying community property. Except it wasn't community property. It was our gate, our land, our lake cabin that we paid for with our own money. All this over a lock. One stupid lock. And my wife was seconds away from being handcuffed. Act 1. The start of the conflict. My name's Kevin Mallister. I'm in my 40s, a freelancer, and after years of scrimping and saving, I finally bought a little slice of heaven, a 2-acre cabin by Whispering Pines Lake. It wasn't much, but it was ours. My wife Laura dreamed of this place for years. We imagined summers fishing, quiet mornings on the porch, and winters with a fire in the wood stove. And then Lorraine showed up. If you've ever dealt with a Karen, multiply that by 10. Lorraine wasn't just a neighbor, she crowned herself queen of the HOA. Never mind that her term had technically expired, she strutted around with binders barking orders like she was the law. The first run-in was almost laughable. I was fixing the porch railing when she stormed over, binder clutched like a Bible, accusing me of unauthorized renovations. I told her this was my cabin, not hers. She didn't like that answer. A week later, Laura swapped the old rusty gate lock for a new digital one, safer, sturdier. Lorraine caught her in the act and lost it. "This is a community gate," she shrieked, jabbing her finger in Laura's face. "You can't change it without HOA approval," Laura tried to explain. "This isn't a community gate, it's on our deed." Lorraine didn't care. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Minutes later, sirens. Deputies stepping out, hands ready. One glance at the papers and Laura was being treated like a vandal. If I hadn't shown up with the deed in hand, my wife would have been in cuffs. The deputies finally admitted Lorraine had no standing, but that didn't stop the letter that showed up the next morning, a $500 per day fine for unauthorized modification of community property. That was the moment I realized this wasn't a petty spat. It was war. Act 2. Escalation and the breaking point. Things escalated fast. One night we woke to the sound of clanging metal. Someone had cut through the gate we'd just secured. Our security camera caught shadows fleeing into the woods. A day later, Laura found a note shoved under the door. "Stop pushing, or your cabin won't be so peaceful anymore." Neighbors started pulling away. Conversations went cold. Some even crossed the street when we walked by. Lorraine's whispers spread like wildfire. "Kevin and Laura are troublemakers. They don't follow the rules, they're trying to secede from the community." The stress ate at us. Laura cried one night, holding that broken padlock in her hands. "I just wanted a safe place," she said. "Why is this happening?" And I'll admit it, I almost gave in. Sitting at the kitchen table, staring at another stack of violation letters, I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe we should just sell and walk away. I hated myself for even thinking it. I felt weak, like I was letting her win. But then Rick, an old college buddy who worked as a lawyer, stopped by. He looked at the letters, chuckled, and said, "Kevin, these are worthless. Lorraine hasn't been president for months. She's signing these without authority." That lit a fire in me. And then came the twist of fate. Old Mr. Whitmore, a neighbor who'd lived there longer than anyone, slipped me a manila envelope. Inside, maps, emails, records. Proof that Lorraine had been forging votes to keep herself in power and funneling HOA money into a private security contract run by her cousin. The pieces snapped into place. This wasn't just a busybody with too much time on her hands. This was corruption. A whole scheme built on fear and fake paperwork. That night I looked at Laura and said, "We're not running. Not anymore." Act 3. The showdown. It all came to a head on a stormy night. We heard the shouts first, then saw the torches. A mob of HOA loyalists, maybe 20 people, marched up our driveway, led by Lorraine herself, binder raised like a flag. "Open up! This is an emergency inspection by order of the HOA," she bellowed. We locked the doors, pulled the blinds. Laura gripped my arm, whispering, "Kevin, they're going to break in." My heart hammered, but I forced my voice steady. "Not tonight. We're calling the sheriff." The mob rattled the gate, kicked the fence, shouted threats. For a moment I thought they'd actually storm the cabin, and then headlights cut through the rain, deputy cruisers pulling up, sirens blaring. The deputies stepped out, forming a line between us and them. Lorraine marched forward, binder dripping with rain, waving it in the deputy's face. "I am the president of this HOA. I demand you arrest them for obstruction." The deputy flipped the binder open, then raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, this is expired. You're not listed as president anymore." Lorraine sputtered. That's a mistake." But then Mr. Whitmore appeared, limping but steady, holding up a flash drive. "I've got emails, maps, and contracts proving she's been forging documents for years." The deputy took it, glanced at me, and nodded. "We'll be taking this downtown." Lorraine shrieked, "This is harassment. I'm the authority here." But her voice was drowned out by the sound of deputies reading her rights. They charged her with impersonating an official, falsifying records, and conspiracy to damage property. The mob went silent. Some dropped their torches. Others backed away into the night. I stood on the porch, rain running down my face, watching as Lorraine, the self-proclaimed queen of Whispering Pines, was shoved into the back of a cruiser, binder clutched uselessly in her hands. Final note. That's how it ended. Not with a victory party, not with champagne, but with truth laid bare under storm clouds.